I walked into my parents' house with a homemade cake. My dad looked at me and said, "Don't cause drama. Just leave it and go." Mom took the cake from me, laughed, and set it on the floor for the dog. "At least he'll enjoy it," she said. I just left. That night I emptied our joint account. The next day when they saw the empty balance, I hadn't even taken off my coat when my dad looked at me from the couch and said, "Don't cause drama. Just leave it and go." That was my Christmas welcome. I remember staring at him, then at the blinking lights tangled half-heartedly around the staircase. Same decorations from the last 10 years, only dustier. I stood there holding the cake, a 3-layer cranberry spice with mascarpone frosting. I'd made it from scratch. No box mix. No shortcuts. Even candied the orange peel myself. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I brought something nice, if I tried just one more time, they'd meet me halfway. Mom walked in from the kitchen, looked at the cake, and actually laughed. A short, dry kind of laugh. She took it from my hands without even glancing at me, walked to the corner and placed the entire thing, delicate piping and all, on the floor next to Max, their golden retriever. He sniffed it and immediately started licking the frosting. "At least he'll enjoy it," she said. I didn't argue. Didn't raise my voice. Didn't cry. I didn't even ask why. I just turned around and walked out the door. The cold hit my face like a slap, but I didn't zip my coat. I drove home in silence, my phone buzzing with texts I ignored. And that night I emptied the account. It was the joint one. The one I opened 2 years ago when my dad lost part of his pension and they were falling behind on mortgage payments. I was the only one consistently adding to it. They stopped contributing after 4 months. I'd been paying property taxes, homeowners insurance, even covered their water heater repair last winter. They always had an excuse, and I always believed them. Until that night. I didn't feel guilty when I moved the money. $23,178. Not a cent of it was stolen. I didn't spend it. Just transferred it to a private account and removed their access. By morning I was the villain. First it was the missed calls. Then the texts. Then the threats. My dad wrote that he was going to file a police report. My mom said she was embarrassed to call me her daughter. Then she added a message that stuck with me. "You always ruin everything. You were born dramatic." That's when I knew this wasn't new. This was just another chapter in a long, tired pattern. And I'd let it go on for years. At noon I got a text from Emily. "We need to talk. Call me." She never took sides. That was her role. Middle sister, forever neutral. I told her to come over that night and she did. But she brought Jeremy with her, which I wasn't ready for. He was already fuming when he walked through the door. Didn't say hi. Just said, "You stole their money?" I told them both to sit down. I laid everything out. I showed them bank statements, receipts, every bill I'd paid in the last 2 years. I pulled up emails where Mom thanked me for handling the electric again. I even showed them a screenshot of the message she sent last Christmas asking if I could front them, just a few hundred more to get through the month. Emily was quiet. She looked at the paper trail and didn't argue. Jeremy didn't say much either. But after a minute he stood up and said he was going to talk to them. Asked him not to. Told him they'd twist it. That they always did. He left anyway. That night Emily stayed. We sat on the couch watching the tree lights blink in silence. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I always thought you were exaggerating." She didn't say more than that. He didn't have to. The next day I didn't hear from Jeremy. Not in the morning. Not by afternoon. I knew he'd gone over there. I didn't need confirmation. The silence told me everything. Around 3 p.m. I got a notification from the old group chat we never used anymore. The one that was originally made to plan a beach trip 5 years ago and then slowly turned into a graveyard of unread messages and awkward birthday reminders. Jeremy wrote, "We're all meeting tomorrow. 4 p.m. Emily's house." A second later Mom chimed in. "About time. We need to stop pretending like Monica's behavior is okay." I stared at the screen for a long time. I wanted to respond. I wanted to say, what behavior? Wanting to be treated like a human being? Wanting to not be used? But I already knew how that would go. Anything I said would be turned into evidence that I was unstable, defensive, emotional. I closed the app and didn't say anything at all. The next day I arrived 10 minutes early. I sat in my car for a while outside Emily's place and watched a couple of kids ride by on scooters. It was weird thinking about how I used to come here for movie nights and lazy Sundays. Now it felt like walking into court. I brought a folder. Not out of spite, but because I didn't want to rely on memory anymore. It had every transaction I'd made into that joint account. Every time I covered for them, every bill I paid, every time Mom or Dad messaged me asking for help and promised to pay me back. They showed up together late, of course. Mom walked in with a smile like she was the guest of honor. Dad was quiet, which wasn't unusual. He only really talked when he had something to complain about. Jeremy came in last, already looking irritated. They barely said hello. Emily sat at the kitchen table with a pot of tea between us, like we were going to sip chamomile and fix decades of damage with polite conversation. Mom started immediately. She said I overreacted, that the cake thing was a misunderstanding, a joke, that I was always too sensitive. Then she turned it into a character assassination. Said I'd always been this way, dramatic, overly emotional, easily offended. Said I'd always made things harder than they needed to be. Dad added that what I did with the account was criminal, that I had no right, that I put them in danger. Jeremy jumped in asking me if I had any idea what kind of trouble I'd caused. How the mortgage was due next week and they were panicking. I waited until they were done talking. Then I handed the folder to Emily. No speeches. No explanations. Just paper. She flipped through it slowly. You could see it hit her page by page. Transfers. Emails. Payment confirmations. A printout of a message from Mom asking if I could help cover just one more thing back in March. Then Emily looked up and asked Mom directly, "Why didn't you put anything into this account?" Mom blinked like she hadn't expected to be asked that out loud. She mumbled something about how she didn't remember, how she thought it was for emergencies only. That it wasn't a big deal. Emily didn't let it go. She pointed out that I'd been covering their mortgage, insurance, heating bills. That Dad's dental work was paid with my credit card. That I hadn't taken a single cent from them in return. Jeremy took the folder next. He looked through it, then set it down and stared at both of them. "Why did you let her do all this?" he asked. Dad finally spoke up. He said I offered. That I liked feeling needed. That if I was so upset about it I should have said no. That's the moment I stopped caring if they ever saw my side. It was clear they didn't feel guilty. They didn't feel anything at all. We argued. I told them they humiliated me on Christmas and instead of apologizing they doubled down. I said I'd been supporting them for years and never once made them feel small about it, but they had no problem embarrassing me in front of the dog. They didn't deny it. Mom just said if you want to be treated like an adult, stop acting like a victim. Jeremy didn't defend me, but he didn't defend them either. Emily was the only one who looked genuinely shaken. She asked if we could try family therapy. Said maybe there was still something worth saving here. I didn't answer. I just picked up the folder and left. That night Mom sent me a text. "You're still our daughter. But you need help. We're not the enemy." The next morning I got a call from the bank. They said a fraud report had been filed against me regarding a joint account. Filed by my parents. The woman on the phone sounded confused. She asked me if I was aware of a recent dispute over a joint account. I told her yes. Then she asked if I'd made the transfer. I said yes again. She paused like she was waiting for more. I could tell she'd seen the activity and probably expected something messier. Maybe some sign of fraud. But the truth was clean. My name was on the account. I'd authorized every cent. Nothing was forged. No password stolen. Just a quiet, complete withdrawal of money I'd put there in the first place. She said the report would be reviewed, but based on what she was seeing, I had nothing to worry about. Then she told me gently that I might want to close the account to avoid further confusion. I thanked her. Then I hung up and sat there on the floor of my apartment, phone still in my hand, staring at the wall like it had answers. They tried to report me. Not even 48 hours after, pretending they wanted to talk things through. After Jeremy and Emily sat in the same room and tried to patch things up. After Mom texted me about love and family and not being enemies. They still went to the bank behind my back. I didn't say anything to Emily right away. I figured she was probably already getting calls from them, hearing their version, trying to keep the peace. But later that night she texted me a screenshot. It was a message from Mom sent to both her and Jeremy. "I don't know what's wrong with Monica anymore. She's always been unstable. He was never the smart one." Emily didn't write anything with it. Just sent the image. That was enough. That same night I started writing a list. It was something my therapist once suggested back when I was trying to set boundaries. A list of what you've done for people who take you for granted. Not to hold it over their heads, just to remind yourself you're not crazy. I listed everything. The mortgage help. The bills. The times I left work to drive them to appointments. The job I turned down 2 years ago because it would have meant moving out of state and they weren't ready for that. The groceries. The calls with their insurance company when they got denied for the first claim. Then I wrote down everything they'd done in return. It was a much shorter list. The next day I got a call from Jeremy. He asked if we could meet, just the two of us. We met at a coffee place near his apartment. I didn't expect much. But he looked more tired than angry this time. He said he'd seen the bank documents again, this time with fresh eyes. That maybe he'd been too quick to assume I was acting out. That maybe he'd bought into Mom and Dad's version of things without really looking at the facts. Then he asked something I wasn't ready for. "Do you still want to help them?" I didn't answer right away. He said they were struggling. That the mortgage was behind. That Dad might need surgery in the spring. That if I walked away now it would get worse for them. He didn't say it outright, but I could tell he still thought I should help. That I should just be the bigger person. But I asked him a question right back. Did they tell you they filed a fraud report against me? He froze. No, they didn't. That changed everything. By the time we left, he looked unsure. Said he needed time to think. I told him to take it. I wasn't chasing anyone anymore. Later that night, Emily called. She said she was coming over. And she brought a folder. Inside were screenshots. Messages Mom had sent her over the past year. Some of them were about me. Most of them weren't kind. One said I'd always been dramatic even as a kid. Another said I wasn't built for adult life, and that she pitied whoever married me. One just said, she's so stupid sometimes it actually scares me. I read them all. Then I handed the folder back. Emily said she didn't know. That she never realized how bad it had gotten. That she didn't want to be part of it anymore either. We sat in silence for a long time. Then she asked if I was really done. I said I didn't know. But the next morning I called the mortgage company and told them I wouldn't be helping with payments anymore. A week after I told the mortgage company I was done, the voicemails started coming in. At first it was just my mom. Short, clipped messages about responsibility. Then longer ones. The kind that switched between guilt and blame like she couldn't decide which worked better. Then came Dad's voice, grumbling through some kind of half-apology that turned into a lecture halfway through. Then they stopped. That silence should have felt like peace, but it didn't. It felt like something was winding up. Like when a storm pulls back just before it breaks. 3 days later I found out from Emily what they were really doing. She called and said they were trying to get a lawyer. Not for the account. Not anymore, the bank had shut that down. But they were asking about financial coercion, saying I manipulated them into letting me control the money, and now I was using it to punish them. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was insane. I'd created the account at their request. I'd paid every bill they sent my way. And now they were calling that manipulation. I told Emily I didn't care. I had everything documented. Every transfer. Every agreement. And if they wanted to try and take this further, I'd gladly let a judge see it all. But then she said something else. They told Aunt Laura you were taking money for drugs. That stopped me cold. I hadn't spoken to Aunt Laura in almost 2 years. Not since a fight between her and Mom over some family heirloom no one even wanted. But she and Mom still talked now and then, and apparently my parents were telling anyone who'd listen that I had a dependency problem, and that they were afraid for me. Emily said she didn't believe them. But Jeremy might. And he'd started calling around asking questions. That's when something clicked. This wasn't just about money anymore. They were trying to wreck my reputation in the family. Make me look unstable. Make me the scapegoat so they could keep control of the narrative. They wanted to make sure that even if I walked away no one would follow me. So I decided to go one step further. I posted a detailed thread on a private family message board. The one we used to organize holidays. The one no one really posted in anymore but everyone still checked. I kept it factual. No insults. No emotional appeals. Just receipts. I uploaded screenshots of payment confirmations. Notes where my mom thanked me for paying the utilities. A timeline of every deposit I made into the joint account. Dates. Amounts. Context. Then I ended it with one line. If you've heard rumors about me, I hope you compare them with these facts before deciding who to believe. I didn't expect anyone to respond. But the next morning I woke up to 17 unread messages. Cousins. Aunts. Even 2 people I hadn't spoken to since my high school graduation. Most of them said the same thing: we had no idea. Thank you for speaking up. This explains a lot. Then came the biggest surprise. Jeremy messaged me privately. All it said was, they lied to me. A few hours later he showed up at my door. He looked like he hadn't slept. Said Mom told him I threatened them. That I stole the money to run away. That I was unhinged. But after seeing the message board and calling the bank himself he knew the truth. Then he handed me something. It was a printed list of transactions. One I hadn't seen before. Turns out my parents had opened a separate account months ago. One not connected to me. And they had been receiving money into it. From Social Security, from a small inheritance they never told anyone about, and even from Jeremy. They weren't broke. They just stopped paying the mortgage on purpose. Jeremy found out when he checked his own transfers and realized the money he thought was going toward the house was being moved into that private account instead. They'd been hoarding it. That night, I sat on the floor of my living room while Jeremy read through every line of what they'd hidden. We didn't speak much. There wasn't anything left to say. But before he left, he said one more thing. We've been backing the wrong people for years. After Jeremy left, I sat in the dark with the papers he gave me still on the coffee table. The numbers didn't lie. Over $14,000 quietly funneled into a separate account they never told us about. Dates going back almost 10 months. Transfers they made while telling me they couldn't afford groceries. Money they hoarded while asking for mine. They had money. They just didn't want to use it if they could squeeze it out of me instead. And I kept giving it. For years. Not because I was stupid, but because I thought one day they'd wake up and treat me differently. Like I mattered. Like I wasn't just the default emergency fund in human form. The next few days moved strangely. Quiet but heavy. Jeremy sent me screenshots of texts from them. First denial, then excuses, then finally accusations. They told him I'd manipulated the situation. That I was twisting facts to turn the family against them. Then they told him he was ungrateful too, and that if he wanted to throw his lot in with me they wouldn't stop him. He sent me one last screenshot that just said, "You two deserve each other." It was from Mom. Meanwhile, Emily went full librarian. She pulled out old group messages, voicemails, even copies of checks I'd written to them over the years. She didn't say it outright, but I think she needed the proof for herself, to know she wasn't imagining how bad it really was. On New Year's Day, I posted the final update to the private family message board. No drama. Just the receipts. Bank statements, messages, dates, timelines. I didn't insult anyone. I didn't speculate. I just laid out the truth. Then I logged off and turned off my phone for 24 hours. When I turned it back on, I had dozens of messages. A few distant cousins told me they were sorry. That things always seemed off whenever my parents were involved in anything. One even told me they remembered a time when my mom tried to guilt trip them into co-signing a car loan. But then I got the weirdest one. It was from my mom's old friend, Diane. She wrote, "I'm not surprised. Your mom's been calling you her backup plan since you were in college." I read that one twice. Backup plan. That's what I was. Not a daughter. Not a person. A fallback. By the second week of January, the mortgage company contacted me. They said the loan was severely delinquent, and though I wasn't legally responsible anymore, I was still listed on older documents and would continue to receive default notices unless they were updated. I told them to remove me from everything. Permanently. Then I called a lawyer just to make sure they couldn't pull anything else. The next day I got 2 texts from my mother. The first said, "You've embarrassed us enough. You've hurt your own family over a few dollars." The second came 2 hours later. "Please. We're going to lose the house. You don't want that on your conscience." That night I ignored the calls. I ignored the emails. I sat on my balcony with a blanket watching the city and trying to feel something. Relief maybe. Or peace. But mostly what I felt was hollow. Emily thought we should try one more time. She said maybe now, after everything, they were finally ready to change. She'd been talking to them again, separately. Said they sounded broken. Said they missed us. Jeremy didn't say much when I brought it up to him. Just said they miss what we gave them. Not who we are. So I went. Emily hosted it again. Neutral ground. Same kitchen table. Same tired dynamic. They showed up on time this time. That was new. My mom looked thinner. My dad looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Neither of them said anything at first. Then Mom cleared her throat and said she was sorry. Not for anything specific. Just a vague, shapeless apology that sounded like it was rehearsed in the car. Dad asked if we could move past this. That family sticks together. That things got messy, but they didn't mean to hurt anyone. Then they said they needed help. Just a little. To avoid foreclosure. To catch up on utilities. To get through a bad stretch. They were still holding on to the idea that we might say yes. That we'd soften. That guilt would win out in the end. I told them I knew about the second account. They didn't deny it. I asked what they were saving it for. Mom said without even blinking, "For retirement. We deserve that." Then she looked straight at me and said, "You were always the emotional one, Monica. Always so eager to prove something. That was your weakness." Then she said it. The thing I think she'd been dying to say for years. "You were always the stupid one." Emily didn't flinch. Because she had her phone in her lap recording the whole thing. When the meeting ended, no one hugged. No one said goodbye. Felt like watching something die. That night, Emily uploaded the recording to the family message board and then deleted it 5 minutes later. Said she didn't care if anyone heard it, she just needed proof for herself that it had really happened. The next morning I blocked them. Phone. Everything. Not because I was angry anymore. But because I finally understood that nothing I gave them, not money, not love, not forgiveness, would ever be enough. And maybe cutting them off completely wasn't the worst thing I've ever done. Maybe it was the first right thing. I thought blocking them would bring some sort of release. Not joy, not satisfaction. just a clean edge to what had always been a jagged, bleeding mess. But the truth is, when you walk away from people who've been in your life forever, even when they've done real damage, it doesn't feel clean. Feels like pulling a rusted nail out of your skin. Necessary but ugly. Weeks passed. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was dense. Heavy in places where I was used to chaos. I kept thinking I'd miss them more. That I'd reach for the phone during a random good moment and feel that gut pull of regret. But I didn't. I didn't miss the manipulation. The constant edge. The way they made me question every memory. Then it happened. I got the final confirmation that I'd made the right choice. Not from them directly, but from someone I hadn't spoken to in almost a year. Samantha. My cousin on my dad's side. We weren't close, but we'd always been friendly enough. She messaged me on a Thursday night like she was hesitating even as she typed it. Hey. This might be out of line, but I thought you should see this. Attached was a screenshot. A group chat I didn't know existed. The name at the top read Real Family. It included my parents, a few uncles, some cousins, people who'd gone quiet when everything exploded. My mother had written, Monica's playing the victim again. She's pathetic. Always has been. She was never that bright, just loud. Honestly, it's a relief to have her out of our lives. Then my father. She thinks she's so strong. But let's see how long that lasts. She's cut off everyone who ever cared about her. She's not smart, she's just stubborn. Someone else replied, she'll come back. They always do. Especially the stupid ones. I felt that old heat rise behind my eyes, but I didn't cry. Not this time. I just stared at it. Not surprised. Not hurt exactly. Just stunned by the consistency. That even now, after everything, they still needed to convince people I was the problem. Still needed to turn me into the villain so they could stay the victims in their own story. I didn't reply to Samantha. She didn't ask for one. I think she already knew what that screenshot meant. But that night I opened every file tied to them on my computer. PDFs of old bank transactions, scanned receipts, screenshots, voicemails, and I deleted them. I deleted the backup folder too. I didn't need evidence anymore. Not for them. Not for anyone. Then I went into my contacts and cleared out every person who stood by while they tried to destroy me. Anyone who watched them twist the truth and said nothing. Anyone who nodded quietly when they called me unstable or dramatic or stupid. I didn't want to carry any more of them with me. A few days later I went out alone for the first time in a while. I walked into a small bakery I'd never been to and bought myself a cake. Just a plain vanilla with raspberry filling. Nothing fancy. When the cashier asked what the occasion was, I said, just me. I brought it home, set it on my kitchen table and sliced off a piece. No one mocked it. No one fed it to a dog. No one told me I was too emotional or not enough of something else. It was just mine. And I liked it. That night I didn't cry. I didn't spiral. I didn't look back. I lay in bed and thought about everything I gave, everything they took, and how much quieter the world sounded now that their voices were finally out of it. And I realized something. I don't want them to change anymore. I don't want reconciliation. I don't even want an apology. I just want distance. And I have it now. After all the years I spent trying to be what they needed, I finally became what I needed. Free. Maybe that's not the ending people hope for. But it's mine. And that's enough.